Right then, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do the player ratings. And obviously, there's some players here that are going to get some quite critical ratings, but it is what it is. We do this every game. Try and be as neutral as possible and just evaluate the facts of how it's all gone down. Starting with Onana in net, sorry. Another game where he nearly cost us. Obviously, he made the major fuck up for their goal. And early in the game as well, I don't know if you remember him coming flapping for a couple of crosses. One nearly murdered Casemiro, cheers. And another one just coming out almost looking like he'd been told, you need to start claiming stuff a little bit further up the pitch in the box. Because it was like a very, very deliberate, obvious change. In terms of his distribution, it was a little bit iffy. There was times when he should have just sent it, like when he conceded the goal. But against a team of Plzen's caliber, them sort of errors are unacceptable. And it's a 4.5 out of 10 for Andre Onana in this one. It's a very low rating. Mazraoui contributed defensively, had 8 clearances, 3 tackles, but offensively the impact was minimal. Obviously, it's coming from a centre-half, so you're not expecting him to have too much with it. But it just wasn't a game that he took by the scruff of the neck. Workmanlike, reliable, but really uninspiring, 6 out of 10. Matthijs de Ligt. I thought he handled the aerial threats really well. His positioning was strong. Distribution lacked ambition, I think it would be fair to say. Didn't really step up as a leader at times, and was another one that was maybe a little bit wasteful with the ball at times as well. It's another 6 out of 10. Defensively adequate, but you expect a little bit more presence from a player of his caliber in a game of this magnitude. Martinez. Defensive contributions were good. 9 clearances, 5 block shots. His passing was largely conservative, although he did force and break the lines a couple of times, but it could have been a lot more. Second half really struggled to sort of dictate play with any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Risk isn't the right word, just sort of incisiveness. It's probably a little bit of a step above the other two in the defence, so give him a 6.5. Reliable, but not transformative. Malacia. He didn't really offer a lot going forward, just one attempted cross, inaccurate. Struggled defensively at times. There was no creativity coming from him on the flank, and it made us a little bit predictable. 5 out of 10. Forgettable outing for him. Delot on the right. Really, really struggling with Delot at the moment. He's not adapting, whether he's on the left or he's on the right. He offered nothing defensively, 0 tackles, 0 interceptions, didn't influence the attack. This role is a struggle for him, I think, at the moment. I don't know if it's confusing him or what, but he's not adding to this. 4.5 out of 10. Ineffective. Casemiro. Pretty industrious. 11 clearances, 5 tackles. Didn't really play with enough tempo or control the transitions, and I think that sort of highlighted the struggles that we had and underlined the sluggishness of us getting it forward. He missed a pretty good chance, which sort of summed up a performance that I thought was lacking a little bit of sharpness in attack. So 6 out of 10. Bruno, I'm going to say 6.5. He was creative. He created 7 key passes, which is very good. 2 big chances created. Overshadowed by a little bit of wastefulness. He lost possession 26 times. Inability to link play properly and drive us forward and be that sort of creative outlet a little bit further forward was disappointing. I'm going to say 6.5 out of 10, I think. Yeah, 6.5 out of 10. Into the forward line then. Marcus Rashford. Lack of impact was glaring. 2 successful dribbles. Off the ball movement was poor, which is what really required. If you're going to play in the 10 just off that main guy like that, particularly when that main guy is coming deep and trying to link play, you've got to get in behind. You've got to just be permanently offside almost, just trying to do that. He made no tangible contribution to United's attack. There was a defensive error which led to a shot. It was a 4 out of 10 performance. It was anonymous and careless. Zirkzee. Some people are going to overshadow over egg Zirkzee's performance here because he had a lot of completed passes. Now, his link play was good in terms of he was dropping deep and he was finding people with the ball. But that's not effective link play. That's almost stat padding to a certain degree. I don't need you in midfield. I need you to link play around the D. I need you to be finding people with through balls that are running off you. Now, I could give you a little bit of credit and say, like, I don't think Ahmad and Rashford are running off you effectively enough. But you're focusing too much on linking play around the halfway line and not around the opponent's box, and that's where you're meant to be. You contributed to a toothless attack because of that. And then obviously we saw the impetus change as soon as Højlund came on. 4.5 out of 10 for Zirkzee. Diallo. Probably United's only bright spark in attack, actually. Should really get an assist for Højlund's equaliser. I know it was a shot, but really he's made that goal. Showed promise, showed creativity, showed a bit of spark, a bit of bollocks. 93% pass accuracy, creates one chance. Didn't really have the teammates that were on the same wavelength as him. Positive, without being game-changing from him. 7 out of 10. And the subs really made this because the starting 11 didn't. Rasmus Højlund, his introduction really changed the game. 2 goals, really well taken. First one, didn't really know a lot about. Second one, it's a real technically top-level finish. All-round play remains limited. And United's late reliance on his intervention is concerning, but 7 out of 10 for Rasmus Højlund. Mason Mount, he added energy. Was getting on the end of stuff nice, showing that movement ahead of the ball is a positive thing. Decision-making could be called a little bit erratic, a little bit. Should have scored with the 2 chances that he had. 6.5 out of 10 for Mason Mount. Anthony. Statistically, contribution was minimal, but the effort and intensity that he brought to the game was good. There was a couple of bright moments, but the lack of cutting edge just tells me why he's not a Manchester United player going forward, at least anyway, as did his shooting. You know, it's almost a running joke about how Anthony's just going to fucking slam one over the bar, and then, you know, he gets in the opportunity to shoot, and that's exactly what he does. I mean, it's not even just like, it's not even one that the keeper even bothers to dive for. They see it going so high and they don't even move. They're like, oh, that's tier 2. That ball's gone. That's in the car park. So despite that, he gets a 6 out of 10 because I thought he brought a lot to the table. Garnacho, brief little cameo offered nothing, no impact, limited minutes, 5. Ugarte, again, minimal impact, didn't really get involved too much in the game, 5. The initial setup of the team was solid enough, and it was only through an error from Onana which we ballsed up. We were obviously set up to have a certain way of playing. The fact that we didn't, I don't necessarily think is too much on the manager, and there's a lot more on the players. He is showing really good in-game management, and his substitution rescued the result. But the lateness of the comeback against a modest opponent reflects poorly on the players, and by and large that means it reflects poorly on the manager. I think tactically it was okay. It's got to be a 6.5, hasn't it? Just acceptable from the gaffer. But yeah, I mean, it was a disappointing performance overall. The result doesn't save it, really. It's a team United should have completely swept aside. The tempo wasn't there. The execution wasn't there. There was individual errors. What should have been a straightforward match was made more difficult than it needed to be, and I think the ratings that I've given reflect my disappointment in the team performance. City are on an absolute roller coaster slide downwards. But if you play against City with the sort of ineffective passing and error-strewn performance that we saw last night, they put 5 past you. You've got to step up massively for that game. Like, United should be thinking about going and winning that game with the form that Manchester City are in. But you turn up like you did in Europa League last night, you're getting turned over. Simple as that. Anyway, Please let me know your thoughts on my ratings. Please give me your own ratings. And shout out to everyone who's just become a YouTube member, and also everybody who's just become a Patreon member. There's some stuff on there if you want to go check it out in the various little sections. Otherwise, cheers for tuning in. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.